Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading room. Just a moment here, we'll get the screen share going on. Okay. Bear with me here just a second. Well, I trust everyone had an enjoyable weekend. Mine was very busy. We were looking after our grandson all weekend, but it was most enjoyable. All right. Sorry about that. I just had to make a change to one of my other charts. Okay, here we go. We've got the NASDAQ now. Friday's session, just a real quick little review. The market spent a whole lot of time going sideways, especially in the afternoon. The morning has some activity to it. So a little run up and then a retrace going into the afternoon, and that's where they stayed. The pre-market, however, very strong. The market rallying from the 650 zone all the way to 7,700. So we've got a rather substantial gap now below the market. It will be interesting to see whether or not they try to fill that gap, or whether this will be more like an expansion gap that will just continue to spur the market higher. For those of you who like to do your first in-sync Eagle signal, well, you have it right here. You've got your red bar buy off of the hard edge. So the Eagle at the moment looking a little bit bullish. The rest of the tools a little more conflicted, however. We've got, it looks like, a fairly neutral Hawk, Falcon, and Raptor. So we'll give them a few minutes here to settle in. Monday mornings can be a little unpredictable. As traders digest all the weekend news. So it looks like that first in-sync Eagle signal, again, working the probabilities. A nice start to the day right there. Here we could be 4 minutes into the day and my day could be done. I'm constantly amazed at how well that signal works out. I still haven't really had the nerve to try it every single time, and yet I know that it works out most of the time. All right, tomorrow I'll start. I'll start taking that first in-sync Eagle signal. You Raptor traders, again, need not feel left out. You can do the same thing. Although today you got blocked. Normally, the Raptor and the Eagle are in sync because, of course, the Raptor band is from the Eagle. You did get an early number one signal right here, an early cloud crossover, but that was a little bit more discretionary. You may or may not have taken it. Easier to see in hindsight, of course, as with most things trading related. The Hawk now with the first micro macro cross, the Falcon also with the trend change signal. So right now it looks like we have our tools more in sync. Okay, here we are. We're producing now a number one signal. Oh, actually, this one may have some giddy up to it as well. The Geiger counter with the needle turning green. You know, ideally, it may work out, but ideally, starting your trade with your stops right here is a little bit tight for me. The hard edge would be doable. And there we go. We hit our profit target on our first in-sync Raptor signal. It's always nice if you're using the Geiger counter when the Geiger counter is in sync with the signal. I know one of our members mentioned that to me, and frankly I was amazed at how well it worked out. It was something that I hadn't really paid that much attention to. Okay, getting a little bit of a pullback now, back into the hard edges. The Falcon actually changing trendline color. The Hawk back here to the macro line. That yellow bar unfortunately spoiled the macro pullback signal. I suppose you could deem it also to be a 4-arrow consolidation setup, but that's going to be your call. Usually on the 4-arrow consolidations, I like to see it more like this, where they're actually going to resemble more of a bull or bear flag. And we get the 1, 2, 3, 4 signals printing, and then looking for the market to continue that trend. Where we are right now, it qualifies, but only in the loosest sense, in that you could say the market is consolidating this way. But remember, when we're trading, we're not on a production line. We're not looking for multiple opportunities. That's not the way you're going to make more money. And a lot of people make this mistake when they come to trading. They think, oh, if I can just find more opportunities to trade, I'll make more money trading. And that's not usually the case. Usually the way you make more money trading is by increasing your position size. So you're going to look for those high probability setups, right? Like a number one signal, or perhaps this number two back here where the band was very, very broad. You're going to look for a setup that you believe is very strong, one that is not going to fail. And then you're going to capitalize on it to the best of your ability. So if I go all in, all out, now again, my stop would not be here. This would be a little bit too tight for my way of trading. I wouldn't want the stop to be right there. But you can see the principle in action, right? I'm still controlling my risk, but I'm also maximizing my profit. You've all heard, cut your losses short, let your profits run. Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. This is one. You're cutting your losses short in that you're maintaining your risk exposure. You're letting your profits run in that you're maximizing your profitability on the trade. The traditional way of cut your losses short, let your profit run, of course, is to try to ride out a position. And that too normally demands wider stops. and a whole lot of patience. Usually more patience than most traders are prepared to do. But bear that in mind, we're not looking for a lot of opportunities. In fact, for the benefit of the new people in the room, I'll repeat this, but you really only need 1 or 2 or perhaps 3 opportunities a day. And I know there's people in the room that can vouch for this. You don't have to take my word for it, but will do much better trading and only looking, say, to take 3 trades a day. And then, of course, capitalizing on those correctly. So what does that do for you? First off, it's going to make you a whole lot more choosy about your opportunities. So you're going to eliminate your overtrading problem. Secondly, you're going to skew the probabilities in your favor because it's going to be a whole lot easier finding 2 or perhaps 3 winning trades in a day versus trying to find 10. Intuitively, it makes sense. If you're trying to flip a coin and you're trying to flip heads twice in a row, that's going to be a whole lot easier than trying to flip heads 10 times in a row. It's the exact same in trading. Stephen here with a little tip this morning. Stephen says, I think to make trend lines work, they need to be clean and obvious and not in chop. The trend lines help me make decisions and help me make the money. And just a little FYI, he says the F2 key is the hotkey for trend lines on your NinjaTrader. I know what Steve likes to do is he likes to highlight the pullback. So highlight the pullback, look for the breakout, look for the breakout signal. And it's a great strategy. Trend lines are a great tool. I love trend lines. And the buyers, well, they've slowed a little bit, but right now it's looking a little bit more like a buyer's market, maybe. Kind of in the little tight little range that we have going on right now. We'll see whether they come out of this range to the top side or whether they will succumb to the sellers and maybe try to get into that gap. Okay, here we go. A little bit of a breakout move. Where's the next resistance line? Up here at 77.30. And you could interpret this signal here. It did not print as a number 3 signal because we were a couple of ticks short of the hard edge, but visually you may qualify this signal or this signal here as a number 3. And it should fade higher on the upside momentum here. I know I'm a little bit of a chicken here this this morning. I'm trying to get a feel for who is in control of the market. And that's one of your biggest challenges as a trader, is trying to determine if the market has a trend today. And if it does, which way is it? One of the things that I'm thinking here is that this was the initial move higher, but notice how the subsequent moves have been getting a little bit shorter. This is making me think that perhaps the market is starting to grow a little weary. Mickey's asking about the band counter when it's available. I assumed that Ben put it already on the members area. I'll have to shoot him an email after the trading room this morning. Let me make a note. And Scott, before you start typing, yes, I did ask him to do one for the Eagle as well. But you'll be able to download the new Raptor, or with the Raptor with the band counter at the members area. Okay, well, we're getting a little top heavy still. Maybe. if the market's going to top out here, we should be able to produce a number 2 signal, maybe even a 2-3-2 type combination. That's where we get the counter trend signal, the hard edge bounce, followed by another counter trend signal. That would make for a more obvious shorting opportunity. So what I'm hoping to see is a little bit of a pullback here, kind of back inside this trading range, then a move higher and a failure. So a failure to continue or to resume the uptrend that the market seems to be establishing or trying to establish. And then we'll get the sell signal. It would help if the Geiger counter were in sync, and the band counter at 40 ticks is starting to get to that point where we may see a move back toward the hard edge. We shall see. Okay, well, they're thinking about it here. You can see everything's gotten very, very flat. I haven't checked the news sites to see if we're expecting any kind of reports or anything today. We're kind of stuck in the mud, if you will. Pardon me. So we've got to pull back now. This is a number 2 signal. Not quite sure why it didn't print as a number 2 signal. Somehow it did not fully meet the programming requirements, but nevertheless, it is a retest of the high and a sell signal. This can be interpreted as a hard edge bounce. Again, it hasn't really hit the hard edge, but visually it's there. So if we come back with another short signal, I'm halfway tempted to try to sell it. Oh, and here it comes too. Now, the thing you need to bear in mind with counter trend signals is they're counter trend signals. So by definition, they are going to be riskier. For that reason, I'm going into manual mode, and I'm going to set up my trade like this, use my stop strategy to hide my stops. So I'm going to take this trade right on the hash mark. And normally I try to stay with trend. And ooh, that was a quick move. Let's get that out of there. That was really moving. So while my target is usually the hard edge, that market took off. I may try to stretch this out a little bit. Maybe, what do we think? We've got a resistance line here at 76.95 3/4. Oh, 7,700's nearby. Maybe I'll try to grab it just before 7,700. I would have my profit target. Oh dear, I hope I'm not going to regret not taking my profit. I'm going to bring my break even now to this, the low of this bar. So if we see another push lower, It should get the trade to break even for me. The Geiger counter was in sync there for a moment. Oh, Eric. Hope you're not pressing your luck. Come on. Normally on counter trend moves, I do try to take profit on target. Counter trend trades are so tempting though, because they have the potential to make a very fast move. Oh, now watch this. They're going to burn me on the recovery. Well, we got the 2, we got the 3. Let's see if we come back with another 2. And there it is. There's the other sell signal. So we do have a 232 signal. We'll see whether or not it engages pretty much at the same price level as what it printed before. That's kind of interesting. Geiger counter favoring the sellers at the moment, so there's hope. So there now the other number 2 signal. Darn it. The seller's starting to recover again. Shoot. Should have just left my profit order in. Trying to be a rock star here, do a nice big trade. When it's the singles that win the baseball game, it's not the home runs. The home run hitters get all the glory, but the guys that can get on base, those are the ones that win the ball game. Well, the market's a little conflicted here. You can see we're getting a little bit of candy striping going on. We're swapping signals, a 2, a 3, a 2, a 3. No, they're going to tag me out. That's what they mean when they say don't let a winner turn into a loser. Oh, the president speaks this morning. that could put a bit of a damper on things. But other than that, oh, it's a after that, it's a relatively quiet week report-wise. Well, the good news is, even though I blew the trade, at least I had the foresight to take a single contract on a counter trend trade rather than going too heavy. Stephen doesn't like my baseball analogy. He says, you're Canadian, keep your opinions to ice hockey. This is kind of the slap in the face now from the market. After tagging me out, we're getting yet another pullback into the trading range and some very active selling, and perhaps another shorting opportunity. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah, the hawk is starting to break down, as is the falcon. So we're kind of coming in sync here. The eagle still full on bull, but it too is starting to look a little bit labored, maybe. Sometimes I do myself a disservice as well, getting stuck in a certain mindset where, and you need to guard yourself against this. For me personally, this is a difficult thing to try to overcome. But if you think the market has to do something on the day, the market doesn't have to do anything. You can persuade yourself of something. You've probably heard that when you rationalize, you tell yourself rational lies. But sometimes it's hard to step back and be objective. You know, if you start thinking, oh, the market has to come lower. No, it doesn't. The market is perfectly capable of continuing to go higher from here. We're not really making much progress though, are we? After that initial move up, we're spent a lot of time here. About the last 25 minutes just retracing the same prices back and forth. Okay, the Falcon trying to get a little bearish here. The trend line changing anyways. We're going to produce a trend change signal here on the Falcon. No, maybe not. The warning dot turned from red to green. All right, Geiger counter's going red. The Hawk is fairly neutral. The Falcon may give us a short signal. There's a hard edge buy, which we're kind of not in sync here at the moment. I was going to say if I get another sell signal, I'll try it one more time. And then I will swear off counter trend trading again. Or are the buyers not going to let it go? All right. There's a number 3 signal. We got a little bit of a second push on it in that the market faded, a little bit. Not quite the second push like this type of bar. Let's see. Let's see if the buyers got anything going on here. See, if you're going to do a second push entry, you normally want to wait for a pivot bar like this one. Okay, not quite sure what happened there. My computer seems to be stuck here at the moment. See, my bid-ask bars are frozen. And there we go. Oh, shoot, there it goes again. All right. If you're going to do a proper second push entry, you need to wait for the pivot bar, like this one right here. Had I done that, I would be in a better position right now. And the market playing cat and mouse with me, and I'm starting to feel like the mouse. I hate it when I have the right idea and I'm wrong about the trade. Okay, so what I'm going to look for now is I'm going to look for some buying to come back into the market so that I can adjust my stops a little bit. Oh, are they going to give it to me? They're not even going to give me that. Stinkers. Wow, look at that chunk of selling that went through the market. That's crazy. And you can see how the sellers outweighed the buyers. The buyers were not able to absorb all that selling, and that's what brought the market down here. Come on, give me that swing. One more bar, you stinkers. If I can get a couple of bars, bullish bars here, then I will roll my stop up. All right, so at this point, I'll bring my stops in. If the market reverses at this point and continues lower, it's very likely that they would hit my deeper stop, so I may as well take my medicine early. We're starting to work a very, very early cloud crossover. It really does not qualify as a cloud crossover yet, but there is a little bit of bearishness creeping into the market because you can see our clouds starting to get intertwined. The bulls got a lot of work to do here if they're going to rally this market again. This whole 77.20 zone seems to have been a real obstacle here today. I will not be surprised to see one of our resistance lines printing around 77.20 tomorrow. No, look at that. Maybe, just maybe, a little glimmer of hope. It's always tricky at this point, you know, to be more aggressive with my stop. I could certainly bring it below this bar right here. I want to minimize my exposure, but at the same time, I don't want to get tagged out only to see the market actually go up. Just out of curiosity, where are the ATRs? Oh, the ATR's up there. Okay, well, it got stuck on the wrong side. So obviously, it's not looking like the buyers are wanting to move the market up any longer. Because of the sideways nature of the market, I think a second push on the entry signal would be advisable. I don't often reverse on a signal, but here we have an early number one signal with a second push. And given that the market seems reluctant to head higher, I may try to short it. I know, you know, this is borderline over trading. And like I said, it's not something that I do often, but this is what I refer to as an early cloud crossover. The cloud's not fully crossed yet, kind of in the midst of crossing. But it is starting to form the elements of a number one signal, the cloud crossover signal. Now, if they get back above here, say above this swing high, then all bets are off. Here on the hawk, we have a bit of a 4-arrow consolidation right there. The yellow bar spoiled this signal here. Might be working a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. The eagle back into the hard edge, and of course, anytime you encounter the hard edge, you need to expect some sort of reaction. So here it's a little bit of a jumbled mess, but here is a 4-arrow consolidation on the hawk. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there, fourth signal. This is the only signal on the hawk that I will consider taking on a yellow bar, is the 4-arrow consolidation. It tends to be a very reliable setup when it occurs. I don't like the fact so much that we're stuck in this sideways range as well. Almost out of the open, certainly about 20 minutes after the open, we've just been drifting sideways like this. Very little progress. That's made things difficult as well. All right, well, they're not cooperating here at the moment, so I'm going to cancel that order. I dug myself a nice little hole here this morning. I hate it when I do that. Oh well. All right, let's see here about the late filter entry signal on the Falcon. It's just in the middle of its formation. So I've got a red trend line. The filter is currently green. The idea here is that the filter is going to come back into sync like it did up here. So we have the red trend line, green filter comes back into sync. We produce the signal. That is a late filter entry signal on the Falcon. It tends to be a very, very reliable signal. Oh, it might be spoiling here though, as the trend line trying to get a little bit more bullish. All right, well, here we go now. We got the hard edge bounce off the band here, both on the Eagle and the Raptor. The E-mini remaining bullish this morning, which I think has added some conflict to the NASDAQ. That eagle hard edge bounce signal, that red bar buy, it's making a little bit of progress. Look at it go. She's gonna challenge the high here. And oh, and so far nothing. And I was gonna say, and I think we're gonna see a breakout coming, but nope, not yet. Still hanging around the same price zone. Anytime the market is in the sideways type range, it's going to be difficult trading. All right, the hawk bullish with the first micro macro cross higher. The falcon working a possible trend change signal higher. The eagle already bullish, but now we've got a red warning dot. And the raptor, if it produces a buy signal here, will be a #1 signal, but it's also rather conflicted. We've got a bearish Geiger counter and essentially a bit of a double top now. Another test of the extreme, and maybe this one will have a little more follow through. We'll see. Okay, there now the sell signal, essentially a #2 signal. I'm just going to hit it with a single. And I'm going to hold my stops. And given that I sucked up a earlier stinker, I'm going to try to run this one a little bit deeper back here to where I was looking at around 7,700, maybe 7,702. I hate it when, you get the right idea, you just get it a little bit too early. We need to see a break here of this 77.16 zone. That's where the market recovered before. There we go. Bring the break even to here. Okay, they're a little conflicted on this bar, so I'm going to chicken out and bring the trade to break even at this point. Via my break even button, I can manually take the trade to break even. Come on, you stinkers. I don't know if there's enough in the market today to fill that opening range gap, which was a very big gap. They seem to be laboring both higher and lower. Oh, Antonio, great question. Antonio's asking, hey, Eric, what made you predict that target at 77.02? Normally, when a market breaks outside of our support and resistance suite, that's these lines that we see right here. Normally, when a market breaks outside of this support and resistance suite, it will tend to move two zones. So this would actually be zone number 1 from that line to this line. And then this would be zone number 2 down here to this blue line, which is the primary resistance. That would kind of be swinging for the fences. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at the first resistance zone, which is 76.95 3/4. And I'm tempering that with 7,700. Just the fact that very often whole numbers hold a little bit more sensitivity for the marketplace. So I could squeeze it to 7,700. I could even try to take it down here to the resistance zone. I thought maybe not making the market work harder than it needs to, given that today it just seems to be a little bit, like I said, laboring. But we'll leave it down here. We'll see if they can't take it all the way down to the support zone or resistance zone because it's in green. As it makes its way down here, we need to anticipate a number 1 signal. So right now my stops are at break even. I'm going to try to be patient with my stops because the market, as the clouds start to unwind to the short side, it's going to do one of these. See, the clouds they change direction. They go from bearish to bullish. There is a pullback, and then we come out with a number 1 signal as when and if the market can resume the new trend. So that's what I'm going to anticipate here. As the clouds start to stack in a bearish fashion, I need to anticipate that pullback. So I'm either going to have to consider taking profit or keeping my stops a little bit further back so I don't get tagged on the reverse. And as I start to accumulate more open profit, I'll probably go with a more aggressive stop strategy, perhaps the bar high low, which I will tune up here to be a little bit more aggressive, or maybe even the parabolics. The parabolics are overall one of my favorite stop strategies for trailing with open profit, because they tend to become much more aggressive as the market starts to lose some momentum. This would qualify as an early number one signal. So the cloud's not fully crossed, but you can see they're 90% of the way there, and we've got the pullback, and we would be coming out now. The next signal would be a short signal. That would be, like I say, the early number one. Come on. Well, they're thinking about it here. I may choose to move into the parabolic mode now. Oh, I hope that doesn't pull back too far. Where is the ATR at? All right, maybe I'll go with the ATR instead. The ATR a little bit more liberal right now. Giving a little bit more elbow room to the trade. Again, you know, if you take your profit on target, I had my high probability profit objective there. I really do need to start following my own advice a little closer. Okay, now that the clouds are crossing, like I said, we can anticipate a pullback. And the next signal that prints, or next sell signal that prints, would be a number 1 signal. If they give that to me, they may not. The market really quite stagnant now. kind of sneaking up on the lunch hour session as well. And very often, well, sometimes we'll see a breakout around the lunch hour, but a lot of times the market will be really quiet, or here we go, trading over top each other again. Nope, they wouldn't give it to me, stinkers. It's hard to tell at this point whether or not the market is reversing or whether it's just still stuck within this sideways trading range that seems to have settled in shortly after the market open. We'll see if they come back with another sell signal. I may be inclined to try it again. It's a bit of a tough call at this point because, like I said, it's such a tight little sideways trading range. Makes it for very difficult trading. The tools all very conflicted right now as well, just kind of adding to the notion that we are in a sideways trading range here, the hawk scalper is just turning bullish after being bearish for 20 minutes. The falcon also trying to change over on the trend line. The eagle, very neutral now after the trading band being bullish all morning, is now, well, ever so slightly trying to get bearish, but overall very, very neutral. You can see there's practically no band there at all. And likewise here with the Raptor, you can see the band counter says we're all of 6 ticks. And it's just very, very quiet right now. All right, well, we'll stay with it for a few minutes more. If things don't start happening, we may just button up the room for the day, come back tomorrow. I've got a little bit of work to do for the rest of the day here, trying to get out of this hole I dug for myself. Okay, here we go. We're getting a little bit of a bearish bend here on the eagle now. It's not huge, but what I'm looking for is here on the Raptor. There we go. There's a fresh number 1 signal. I'm just going to hit this short signal to sell it. I'm going to roll my stops back to where they ought to be. This is a number 1 signal off of that pullback. Now, why did it not print as a number 1 signal? Well, because the clouds were ever so slightly out of sync here. This is why it's important as well to be able to identify your signals apart from the signal prompts. The signal prompts are there to help you, of course, but every once in a while, the situation may develop that you get the parameters of a high probability signal, but it does not print as such. All right, we'll see what they do with this. Whether or not we can continue now lower and perhaps get back toward that 7,700 zone. That reminds me I was going to pull my profit target. And while it's unlikely that the market will fill the gap today, there still is that gap from around, what was it, around 76.60. I don't think we're going to see quite that much out of the market today. Doggone it. Come on, you guys. This support zone down here is just crazy strong. This whole 77.09 3/4 area, we've seen the market flinch early a couple of times back here, and more recently back here at 77, looks like around 77.10. Well, they're just kind of hanging out here. I think we're going to button up shop here for the morning, but if you are going to continue trading today, I think the market owes us a pullback. I would hate to think that the little snap that we saw here out of the beginning, that little move right there, was the move of the day, and now we're just going to continue sideways. Of course, that is entirely possible. However, I think it is more likely that the market will try to come down here somewhere and try to retest the lows of the morning. Whether or not they will be successful, well, that remains to be seen. But that would be my tendency for the remainder of the day here. All right, gang, I will catch you again tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.